Say motorists will have to pay more to use national roads from next month. The National Roads Agency announced a 2.25% increase in toll fees, a 6.25% increase in toll fees, which was gazetted earlier this month. Sanral says it's in line with inflation and slightly lower than last year's hike of 6.58%. The N1 Kranskop will increase from 53.50 rand to 57 rand, and the N3 Tugela toll price will increase from 88 rand to 94 rand. For more on this, we are now joined by the General Manager for Communications at Sanral, Vusi. Vusi, good morning. Thank you so much for making time for us. Just take us into the confidence of what Sanral uses to determine what increase should be allocated for which particular vehicle. And does Sanral also look into, for instance, which roads would have an increase?
No, thank you very much. Good morning to you and to the viewers at home. What informs the adjustment is the consumer price index for the preceding 12 months. And this is a figure that we get from Stats SA. All toll plazas are basically subjected to this adjustment. And I must emphasize, we call it an adjustment and not an increase, because the objective is to, one, protect the value of what we collect in order to maintain the roads. And all the toll plazas would be subjected to it. If we were not to do this adjustment, it would mean the value of what we are collecting decreases annually, and that would have a negative impact on our maintenance program, and it will ultimately impact on the condition of the road.
Yeah. Does Sanral take into consideration the pressure that the motorists find themselves under, also considering that this data is part of what the Stats SA shares with us?
Well, you know, we did look into the state of the economy, and we do acknowledge that these are tough economic times. But just like any service provider, especially when you've borrowed the money from capital markets, you know, in order to build and improve the roads, you have to take into account the environment in which you are operating. We do sympathize with road users and motorists. But please take into account that we ourselves had to go to the market to borrow the money in order to build and maintain the roads. And when the money is due to the lenders, we cannot raise the argument that these are tough economic times. Just like, you know, if you've borrowed money from the banks, they're expecting in order to finance your vehicle or a house, you know, they're expecting what is due from you. So yes, we do sympathize with motorists, but it is what it is. The comfort that motorists can take is that this is really an adjustment. We are not increasing above the consumer price index. We're keeping it at the inflation rate.
Yeah. Vusi, tell us, why is it that when it comes to Sanral, for instance, Sanral is able to make its own determinations, including its adjustments, but when it comes to, for instance, the Road Accident Fund, that administered cost is announced by the Minister of Finance? Why are the two separate?
Well, I'm not in a position to talk on behalf of the Road Accident Fund, but how we make the adjustment is something that is determined by the Sanral Act. So we're a creature of statute. If we were not, for an example, as I've alluded earlier, we would have said, well, CPI is 6.25, we're going to come in at 8%, right? We don't have that discretion. It's governed by an act.
Okay. And then looking at the maintenance of the roads, a point that was raised last week by the Mineral Council is that there's been an increase in the number of coal tons that are being transported via roads. They said that around 26 million tons that were transported on our national roads. The impact that this is having on the national roads, including your maintenance plans.
Yes, the movement of particularly coal from rail to roads has had a very severe impact on the national roads. These big monsters, the trucks, they do a lot of damage on the roads, and we've seen the cost of maintenance going up. We are seeing the lifespan of the roads reducing. When the engineers design a road, they say, for example, this road is going to last us 25 years or 50 years or anything like that. But with the haulage that we see on the roads, the period or the lifespan of our roads is decreasing, and that has an impact on capex, for example. That has an impact on what we annually have to go to Treasury and plead for. So yes, it is having a negative impact on the quality of the roads, on the rate at which the road is deteriorating, and an impact on the fiscus.
Well, considering that particular aspect and the adjustment that has now been announced by Sanral, is Sanral having a conversation with freight and logistics companies around whether or not they should be paying an increased amount when it comes to using the roads? The Mhlatuza municipality, for instance, is saying that it will be charging 30 rand per ton for trucks that are carrying coals and driving through the municipality. I don't know if Sanral has engaged with the municipality around that, but is there discussion, though, with logistic companies that they must also pay?
That conversation hasn't formally started. These are ideas that are floating around. We are aware of what one municipality is proposing. We haven't had any formal discussions with that municipality, but it is an ongoing conversation within government, looking at the impact that trucks have on our road infrastructure.
I guess another ongoing conversation, Vusi, even since you joined as a spokesperson and communications manager for Sanral, is e-tolls, and that conversation is still continuing. Will we get any announcement around the Gauteng e-tolls and whether or not it will be scrapped?
Well, you remember the last we had on this matter was an announcement by the Minister of Finance. It's a matter that 3-4 years ago was kicked out of our court. Sanral. We are an implementing agency. This matter was handled at a political level. You'll remember there was a 3-member committee made up of the Minister of Transport, Finance, and the Premier of Gauteng. They made a recommendation to Cabinet on the basis of which the Minister of Finance made the announcement he did some 2 or so years ago. So as an implementing agency, we are still waiting for the final way forward. We did take note of the announcement that it is going to be scrapped. It currently remains on the statute books, and that is why, for an example, GFIP or e-toll roads are affected by the toll tariff adjustment for as long as they remain on the roads are on the statute books.
Do you know how much Gauteng motorists owe Sanral?
Not off the cuff. The last I checked, this figure was somewhere around 12 billion or north of that.
12 billion. Thank you so much for your time. That is Vusi Mona. He is the communications manager there at Sanral, following the announcement of the adjusted toll fees that you and I will have to pay using the national roads.